When delving into the depths of Norse mythology, one immediately encounters a fascinating duality at the very heart of its pantheon. Rather than presenting a single, unified group of gods, the myths speak of two distinct divine families, the Aesir and the Vanir. This division is not a trivial narrative detail, nor a mere duplication of characters, but reflects profound historical and cultural realities that shaped the spiritual landscape of ancient Northern Europe. Through comparative mythology and the lens of archaeological discovery, the separation and eventual synthesis of the Aesir and Vanir emerge as a mythic encoding of ancient societal change and integration. To understand why two such powerful and interconnected groups of deities exist side by side, it is essential to first explore their origins, both linguistically and historically. The term Aesir is rooted in the Proto-Indo-European word ansu, meaning breath or spirit. This etymology hints at the Aesir's association with intangible, transcendent forces, the breath of life, the wind, and the sky. In contrast, the name Vanir is thought to derive from a root meaning friend or kin, suggesting an orientation toward community, fertility, and a closer relationship with the human and natural worlds. Archaeological evidence from the Nordic Bronze Age and early Iron Age supports the idea that two distinct religious traditions coexisted and eventually merged in Scandinavia. One tradition, which may have given rise to the Aesir, focused on warrior deities and sky gods, figures who embodied the ideals of leadership, law, and martial prowess. The other tradition, ancestral to the Vanir, was centered around earth, fertility, and the continuous cycles of nature. Cultic sites, burial practices, and votive offerings reveal a complex interplay between these two systems of belief, mapping onto patterns of migration and cultural stratification observed in Indo-European societies across Europe. From a mythological perspective, the distinction between Aesir and Vanir is not merely one of genealogy, but of function and value. The Aesir, led by Odin, are the gods of sovereignty, order, and war. They are the architects and enforcers of law, the protectors of civilization, and the wielders of fate. Odin himself is both a wise king and a relentless seeker of knowledge, wielding magic and prophecy in pursuit of cosmic understanding. Thor, the thunder god, embodies physical might, protection, and the relentless defense of the divine order. Balder, emblematic of purity and sacrifice, stands as a paragon of innocence tragically lost, his story woven into the fate of the world itself. The Vanir, in contrast, represent a different set of cosmic principles. They are the gods of fertility, prosperity, and the sustaining cycles of the earth. Njord, the sea god, governs winds and wealth, ensuring the prosperity of seafaring and coastal peoples. His children, Freyr and Freya, are intimately connected to growth, love, sexuality, and magical power. Freyr presides over peace and bountiful harvests, while Freya is a mistress of love, beauty, and a unique form of magic, known as Seidr. Where the Aesir embody hierarchy, honor, and destiny, the Vanir are more egalitarian, emphasizing balance, renewal, and the mysteries of the natural world. This fundamental duality finds dramatic expression in one of the central stories of Norse myth, the war between the Aesir and the Vanir. This conflict, which unfolds not as a simple narrative of good and evil, but as a tale of rivalry, misunderstanding, and eventual reconciliation, encodes deep social realities. Scholars such as Claude Lévi-Strauss have argued that myth functions as a way for societies to process complex changes and contradictions. The Aesir-Vanir War reflects the tensions between emerging warrior aristocracies, those who would become the rulers and kings of the Viking Age, and the older agrarian and maritime cultures that preceded them. Significantly, this mythic war does not end in total victory for one side or the other. Instead, it concludes with a truce, a symbolic exchange of hostages, and the merging of the two pantheons. Njord, along with his son Freyr and daughter Freya, leave the Vanir to reside in Asgard, the home of the Aesir. In return, the Aesir send Hoenir, a figure of leadership and beauty, and Mimir, the Wise One, to live among the Vanir. The exchange is fraught with ambiguity, While Njord and his children are embraced in Asgard, the Vanir grow suspicious of Hoenir's lack of independent thought and ultimately execute Mimir in frustration, suggesting that the process of integration was neither smooth nor entirely sincere. The narrative of hostage exchange is more than a story. It is a metaphor for the challenges and opportunities inherent in cultural synthesis. Njord and his children bring to Asgard the essential Vanir functions of fertility, peace, and magic. Freya, as a powerful vulva, introduces satyr magic to the Aesir, a practice that is both revered and regarded with suspicion, especially by male gods like Odin. The Aesir, in turn, offer the Vanir access to the prestige of sovereignty and the wisdom of Mimir. Though this gift comes with its own ambiguities and limitations, the post-war Norse pantheon thus becomes a site of remarkable synthesis. The Aesir retain their leading roles in governance and warfare, but they are transformed by the integration of Vanir values and powers. Freyr, for instance, becomes associated with kingship and prosperity, blending agricultural abundance with the exercise of royal authority. Freyja's presence in Asgard brings not only love and beauty, but also a new dimension of spiritual power, as her mastery of Sitr influences the practices and perceptions of magic among the gods. This synthesis is reflected in the rituals and symbols of Norse religion. Archaeological finds at temple sites, such as the famous temple at Uppsala, reveal the side-by-side veneration of deities from both families. According to medieval accounts, statues of Thor, Aesir, Odin, Aesir, and Freyr, Vanir, stood together at Uppsala, a powerful testament to the merging of traditions in both myth and practice. Seasonal festivals and ceremonies blended the themes and blessings of both pantheons. Winter solstice rites honored Odin's quest for wisdom while invoking Freyr's promise of the returning sun. Marriage ceremonies called upon both Thor's protective hammer and Freyja's gifts of love and fertility. The integration of the Aesir and Vanir is not without tension. The acceptance of satyr magic, for instance, is colored by gendered assumptions and anxieties. Satyr was traditionally associated with female practitioners and the Vanir, and when Odin himself practices this form of magic, he is mocked and accused of unmanliness by Loki and others. This narrative reflects real historical ambivalence within Norse societies regarding gender roles and spiritual authority, a dynamic still echoed in modern debates about tradition and change. The story of the Aesir and Vanir also finds echoes in other Indo-European mythologies, suggesting that such dualities are not unique to the Norse world. The Greek myth of the Titanomachy, the epic struggle between the older Titans and the younger Olympians, presents a similar structure of generational conflict and the displacement of chthonic, earthbound deities by sky gods of order and law. However, the Greek solution is one of total conquest. The Titans are overthrown and banished, and the Olympians rule unchallenged. In the Indian Vedic tradition, the ongoing conflict between Devas and Asuras likewise encodes enduring tensions between competing cosmic forces. The Norse solution stands out for its negotiated peace and the mutual, if uneasy, integration of the two divine families. Rather than erasing one tradition in favor of the other, the Norse myths imagine a world in which both perspectives, warrior and farmer, sky and earth, order and fertility, are preserved and balanced. This suggests a sophisticated approach to cultural change, one that values syncretism and the enrichment that comes from genuine exchange over simple domination or assimilation. Modern scholarship points to the lasting influence of this mythic synthesis on Scandinavian culture. The blending of hierarchical and egalitarian values, the respect for both tradition and innovation, and the importance placed on negotiation and community all find their roots in the ancient stories of gods who learned to coexist and thrive together. Contemporary Scandinavian societies, noted for their commitments to gender equality, environmental stewardship, and democratic governance, can trace elements of their worldview back to the successful integration of Aesir hierarchy with Vanir egalitarianism. The study of the Aesir and Vanir thus offers more than a window onto the beliefs of a distant past. It provides a lens through which to examine the processes of cultural negotiation and transformation that are as relevant today as they were millennia ago. In a world increasingly defined by encounters between different traditions, the Norse model of integration, marked by both conflict and accommodation, tension and synthesis, remains a powerful example of how societies can honor their differences while forging a shared future. In summary, the duality of the Aesir and Vanir in Norse mythology is a reflection of real historical processes of cultural contact, conflict, and integration. The gods themselves embody different aspects of human experience and societal organization, and their eventual reconciliation points to the possibility of harmony amid diversity. Through myth, ritual, and the enduring power of story, the Norse people crafted a spiritual legacy that continues to inspire and instruct, reminding us that the path to unity is paved not with conquest, but with understanding and exchange. As we look back from the vantage point of the present, the lessons of the Aesir and Vanir remain clear. Successful integration, whether of peoples, ideas, or traditions, demands more than the triumph of one over the other. It requires openness, respect, and a willingness to embrace the best of both worlds. In this way, the ancient gods of the North speak not only to their own time, but to ours as well, offering a blueprint for navigating the complexities of identity, community, and change in an ever-evolving world.